This season of Moments with Nderru podcast is powered by workspaceglobal.com, branding made easy. Hey, welcome to season 7 of Moments with Nderru podcast, where you will be inspired, encouraged, and uplifted. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you so much. And for those who have been here from day one, I truly appreciate you. So a favor to ask, like this video, share it, subscribe. And for those who are listening on your preferred audio platform, please leave a review. It will truly mean a lot. Today's guest is a global leader in the branding and entrepreneurship space. He leads a mission to power thousands of startups to success by building strong brands. He runs an innovative tech platform, workspaceglobal.com, that gives startups instant, affordable access to expert creative teams on subscription. He also coaches rising entrepreneurs to bridge the gap between idea and reality, equipping them with the practical tools, next steps, and clarity to create products, build thriving businesses, attract early customers, and assemble their first teams. Welcome onto the show, Sydney, yet again.
Hi, Mathoni. Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be back behind your mic. It's been a while since our last conversation, but I think we've developed a very lovely friendship and relationship since that last chat. And so just really happy to be here.
So to kick off this conversation, considering that, whatever is happening in the world is very chaotic, there's just so much happening. How would you encourage an entrepreneur, seasoned or even aspiring, to remain focused and not distracted regardless of the chaos?
Okay. So just a little background. I have been an entrepreneur for 13 years, and this would be my third venture that I'm working on. And one key thing that I have always advocated for is that entrepreneurs are the army that the world needs, primarily Africa, but the world at large, of change makers who will not just stop when things go wrong, who will not stop pursuing specific projects or specific outcomes, and are well motivated by the idea of creating change and making a profit. So if you start to think of yourself not just as an entrepreneur or a businessman or woman, but as a change maker in the world, you can then see that you have an even deeper responsibility to keep doing what you do, okay? Keep creating things, keep finding ways for people to engage in your services or your products, keep hiring people, because these are the things that you do to change the livelihoods of the people around you. So that's where I find my motivation from. And I'd like to encourage anyone else listening to this conversation to dig deep and connect with the fact that they are making change as part of their business dealings.
I like that we are change makers, and all that we're doing is to also not only change our lives and our businesses, but everyone connected to our businesses. Now, you mentioned that this is your third venture.
Yes.
Tell us, how did this all begin? How did you decide, one day I'm going to be an entrepreneur?
It's an interesting starting story. I mean, this kicked off back when I was in university. Actually, I think I was the age of probably 17 at the time, and I didn't quite fit in. I'm not gonna lie. So there weren't a lot of places that I was invited to, where whilst people would go clubbing or go to parties, I didn't really have spaces that I could go to. So I was inspired by my roommate. He had an idea to create a place we could go to, and so we used to watch Def Jam comedy on YouTube. And to learn about poetry, et cetera, et cetera. And we said we're going to create something similar so that people like us could also go to that. So that's what kicked off our first venture called Moonlight Cafe, which was a creative arts, stand-up comedy, live music, and spoken word platform that would pick underground artists, train them, and put them on stage for the world to be able to see. So that's where that began. A few things led to different things, and I started to become a freelance designer from supporting that first business because there was a lot of money we were spending on different things, and we just wanted to acquire certain skills to be able to do that. Little by little, that business started to tank, and we recognized that there was a huge gap in relation to our brand and brand partnerships because we needed corporates to work with us to be able to succeed, right? And because we hadn't properly packaged ourselves, that was a bit of an issue. So I delved deeper, even though the business still failed. Well, not failed, but it ended. I delved deeper into the world of branding because I saw the impact of what it had on my business at the time and recognized that there were a lot of other people who might have been facing the same challenges. How do you package yourself to present yourselves to the right customers, to the right partners? How do you package yourself in a way where you can charge your worth, for example, or to be introduced to the right people? So that's kind of what started my entrepreneurial journey, overall. Yeah.
You've mentioned something very intriguing when you were
Mm,
saying that the business didn't fail, it ended. And
yes.
at times, when we are choosing to close our ventures or to end them, so to speak, we feel
Mm,
like we failed. So, what's
mm,
the difference between failure and ending a business?
right. So genuinely, a business can never end unless the people within it stop working on it. So there are businesses that have gone into debt, serious debt, and they've been able to turn it around. So if you recognize that if that's possible, then basically even running out of cash or making losses doesn't actually end the business. But it usually has to do with the energy and the place in life where the founder is at. I think when someone has radical expectations of where they need to be, and with their business, and this does not work, despite all their efforts, then you can say the business failed because you had a clear expectation, you gave it everything you could, and at a certain point you could just no longer go on. You're probably incurring personal liability, or there are certain things that are beyond your control that are forcing you to shut down. Whereas businesses ending, I do recognize, and people have the ability to change their minds, to have different interests, to transform or evolve as a person. So I have even seen people who co-found a business and one founder goes on, whereas the other founder steps off because they're in a new space in their lives. They have different priorities. They want to pursue something different. And that's totally okay because all these things are just lessons. So that's kind of the way I would say the difference between failing and ending, would be. And some people don't even just end, they just transform, to working in a totally different space with the same business principles. Yeah.
Very interesting. At times when we choose to walk away from a venture or a business, or as you said, you choose to remain in a business, at times we can get quite resentful
Yeah.
because we are the one who stayed behind or the one who remained in this venture, yet
Mm,
that
mm,
individual has gone off
mm.
to do whatever they have chosen to do, which is valid and we respect that. So, how do you navigate those emotions where you feel like I've been left with this venture or business and everyone
Mm.
around me seems to be living their life, but I'm here trying to get out of that?
I think it's a very difficult lesson in life to um first to accept that everyone has the right to make their own choices and people's choices have very little to do with you. Even if you are directly involved in what led them to make that choice, the, them making that choice, it's still their own choice and it's a very independent thing. And the second thing is you also have the ability to choose whatever you want to do. So if you want to remain, you need to acknowledge that that is a choice you're making. And it's important to acknowledge and embrace that. right? Don't ever feel like you are limited, or you're trapped, to be in a particular place. If you're still in a place, you're choosing to be there. Now, most people like to end the conversation too quickly that, oh, that comes from a place of privilege or things like that. But I will say, if someone, especially people in like refugee situations, et cetera, they could decide to be in a space where they're not empowered with a passport or money, and people literally walk ridiculous distances to get out of that specific situation, right? So if your thing is a financial limitation or a location limitation, as long as you can move your body, you can get up and make a change. But that's totally okay. I just want to remind people that you always have that choice. And if you're okay with the choice, you start to realize that you don't feel as resentful because it's like, I understand and I respect that other people have the right to make any decision they want, and I have the right to make any decision I want. And this is just the truth or the reality of it. So that's the way I approach it, so that I don't necessarily have those issues, regarding certain things. Yeah.
Yes, the power of choice.
Yeah.
And at times we downplay it, but it's very necessary and important to recognize that you actually do have the power to make that choice.
Mm-hmm.
So from the moment that now the first venture ended
Mm-hmm.
and you enter your second one, how did you
Mm-hmm.
find yourself now pursuing or pioneering workspaceglobal.com?
Awesome. So it's interesting that I call it my third. Sometimes I call it my fourth venture. So after that business ended, I pursued a freelance career as a designer, but I was also in the business field and the business school. So one thing that I used to really differentiate myself was the fact that I would teach people about business, which is so interesting that it's come full circle as to what I'm doing right now. But I'll teach people about business, how to start a company, how to price, what to name yourself. And so people really liked working with me as a designer because they would get so much more value than just, a flyer or a logo. Now, I took that and then launched our first agency, which was Workspace, or Workspace Global at the time. So it's the same name, but previously it was just a creative agency, very traditional agency. We grew the company to a team of over 35 full-time staff. We worked with large global brands, including the World Bank, including just a lot of huge companies. But you can immediately tell what would start to happen. The bigger the company gets, the higher your price needs to be, because with the agency model, you can only work with a small number of people, maybe 10 customers at a time. So you want to charge as much as possible for the highest paying customer so that you can run your business effectively. Now, I noticed, especially as we were getting closer to COVID, that model was dying because there were consistent cash flow issues regarding when big companies would pay you. You always needed to handle payroll. There was a lot of things that that model made. That model was very uncomfortable, right? And you could see that another 20 years of this model, and we would lose the essence of why we started. And the reason why we started was to support other people starting businesses, very specifically. So interesting enough, we had transformed to becoming, we were outside the price range of the people we started for. And so we had to do a lot of reflection and recognizing that, listen, we started to impact, I said I wanted to impact thousands of people. How am I going to do this if every time I'm charging someone, I'm charging them anywhere between $5,000 to $15,000 a month, you know? So we started to do the homework. What would it cost? How do you figure out a way to ensure that you can deliver this level of high quality, but at a price that is accessible to everyone who wants to start a business? And that's where we started to delve into technology. We started to think about creative and design and copywriting and websites and things like that, less as a science, less as an art, and more as a science, right? Because if you could understand the very specific points or the psychological points that make sure that a project is successful, You could then break that down in a way that can be heavily automated, still remain authentic where every bit of work that you put out is original, but you can deliver this for 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, 100,000 customers. And that's what led to the transformation of our business from Workspace Global to workspaceglobal.com. It's still the same business, but it's completely different because now we're in the business of giving people access to creative teams. Whereas before we were an agency that got the work done, right? But you can see now that we are a connector to the people who do the work. I've also been very passionate about creating jobs in Africa. So one big thing is that we try our best to hire from Africa for the people who are doing work. And now we're able to hire 100 people at a time. They all work remotely. They all work their own hours. So they determine when they want to work, how they want to work, and they're able to work within a very fixed framework that ensures that with very little exposure to high level creative work, you can still deliver at our standard. So it makes it very inclusive for students, very inclusive for people who might be on maternity leave. You know, we're very open to creating that kind of access. So using that technology, we've been able to put talent on one side and startups and small businesses on the other side. We still serve large companies, but with our technology, we're able to do that. And that's what led to this new era of our business, which is workspaceglobal.com.
It sounds so exciting, a tech platform being able to enable job creation and giving startups also access to a service like yours. So kudos to you and your team. But one of the things that I'm hearing is you being the founder, you had to have a conversation with yourself at first and say it's time to pivot. And how will that pivot look like? And if I'm going to make these changes, it needs to start with me. So let's just touch upon that, where several founders, co-founders, leaders find themselves at that point where they are asking themselves those hard questions. How do I pivot? And how do I ensure that I stay on track as I pivot?
It's a very deep conversation on self-awareness. The first thing is you need to be able to hear your thoughts about what you want and where you're going in your life. That's the first thing. And I always start with purpose because a lot of people take that for granted, right? I want to get to a stage in my life where I really do not want to work for money because I feel like the financial incentive kind of impedes my creativity. I want to ensure that I have freedom of time, freedom of location. So, Tony, you would see that I live a life that is a bit free regarding location. Every couple of weeks, we live in a different location. And I move with my family. So it's not just me going on trips. We literally move houses in different ways. So there's parts of that are coming to life. But when I figured out what my North Star was, which was make sure that I am truly free, but also I have built a system that will continue to create impact, whether I'm working on it or not. That has always been my motivation. It may not necessarily be the same motivation for other founders. Some people enjoy being at the forefront of what they do, which is totally okay, because that's what you like. For me, I like to build things and then let them keep going, and then you can step away to see how that's going. So that's where that conversation began for me. And then I started to assess what the gap was, and which it's been a very long journey of reflection, because there were lots of issues regarding my ego, where I enjoyed being probably the smartest person in the room. I enjoyed the accolades, so there were things that I didn't want to let go. The agency model it's very deeply rooted in relationships. So there's a lot of opportunity for adulation, praise, sometimes, a lot of different things, right? So I had to have a hard conversation with myself that, listen, where you want to go and what you're doing right now, even just from a purpose perspective, is misaligned. So when you are able to have that conversation, so you can clearly see, then you map out what potential pivots would lead to that outcome. So it's never just one pivot. And then some people, you read a book and then you think, it's time to pivot, and then you pivot in the direction of the book. What tends to happen is that you end up pivoting multiple times if you don't do the reflection properly, right? There's a statement that I read somewhere that when you read one book, I think either you mirror thoughts. When you read two books, you plagiarize. But when you read multiple books or hear multiple voices, that's when you're truly able to form your own opinion. So that's something for everyone to think about, that, one pivot may look nice because somebody else tried it. Another pivot may look nice because it's in vogue, but you really need to do the homework of if that pivot works for you. And then test it on a small scale and see how it goes. Don't just check for revenue, check for how much you enjoyed it. How easy was it to deliver? The people in your community, if you're able to get very positive feedback from that, you might try 2 or 3 different things across a year, across multiple years. That's totally okay. And then you make a decision about where you want to pivot to after you have validated that it truly aligns with yourself, truly aligns with where you want to go, and is something that you thoroughly enjoy.
I could not add anything more to that. But one thing that stands out for me is enjoyment, because this
Mm,
entrepreneurship journey is long and hard and lonely. So you
yes.
need to enjoy the journey. This business of not being able to enjoy life, no, 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 no. Whoever is listening and watching, let's enjoy this journey. It's only one, so let's just make the most of it.
Yes.
So, is an entrepreneur born or made?
That's a really good question. Hmm. I think the mindset and grit of being an entrepreneur is innate. There's a certain appetite for risk you need to have, right? And ambiguity. And there are just certain people who just cannot enjoy risk and ambiguity. Okay. Now, there is also an element of entrepreneurship that can be learned. The very specific systems of finding product market fit, the very specific systems of finding teams, a system of experimentation, and all those things are things that can be learned. Even, people, my wife has been doing a lot of reading regarding neuroplasticity, which is the fact that your brain can physically change size and its infrastructure, right? And I'm then realizing that, okay, you might not be born with that entrepreneurial grit, but you can decide you want to become that and apply yourself consistently over a long period of time to then transform into somebody who has a deeper risk appetite, right? So it depends on how deeply you want it. So I do think there are people born with that entrepreneurship trait. But if you are committed enough, you can apply yourself to learning and embracing the entrepreneurship way of life. So that's what I believe regarding that. Yeah.
The reason why I asked that is because probably there's someone listening or watching and just wondering, am I made for this entrepreneurship journey? And, they're just debating, trying to figure it out. But your point is valid. If you apply yourself and you choose to
Mm,
say that I want to learn about this ecosystem, learn about whatever is needed to start off a business or to endure
mm,
the entire process, it is
mm.
possible. But again, it comes down to choice. Are you going to do it?
Yes.
So we're going to switch gears and we're going to play a game called This or That.
Okay.
So the first one is text or call.
Text. I only text. No one can call me generally, unless you send me a text to say you're going to call.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Movies or TV shows?
Movies.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, Facebook or Instagram or any other platform that you prefer?
That's a good one. Between Facebook and Instagram, Instagram specifically. But if it's any other platform, LinkedIn.
Interesting. There's
Yeah.
a whole conversation about LinkedIn. Why LinkedIn for you?
I I know there's a school of thought that says LinkedIn is a little fake in some cases, but I like the idea that people can openly celebrate what they're achieving in a way that doesn't make in a way that doesn't place them above other people, or other people who have not achieved that same thing. I feel like with Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, well, TikTok, especially with Gen Z and Gen Alpha, that is changing where people, I feel like our generation as millennials, we really used Instagram to assert our dominance, or a certain class, which I didn't really enjoy. But with LinkedIn, even though you can see that somebody's gone to a really cool school, or whatever that is, there's a certain acceptance that, oh, okay, that's what the person's doing. Oh, nice for them. So I like that space, and you can very openly celebrate certain things without it meaning too much. So yeah. Yeah.
That's a good one. Because you travel a lot, summer or
Mm-hmm.
winter?
Definitely summer. I prefer to sweat than to shiver. So yeah. I am a Ghanaian man. So yeah, that comes through. Yeah.
City life or countryside?
I'm on the countryside. I prefer the countryside. I prefer to walk, ride on bicycles, breathe fresh air, stuff like that. So
Nice. Dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
milk chocolate. Embarrassing, but yes.
Not embarrassing. No, no, no.
I feel it's like you have a sweet tooth. So yeah, milk chocolate.
And to the last questions, love or money?
Definitely love. Definitely love. I've come to even experience love in a lot in a much more enriching way more recently. I mean, I'm talking even outside my family. Very recently, I joined a kind of like a brotherhood. It's not an official brotherhood, but of a group of African men in the UK, who are just committed to helping each other succeed and just supporting each other with love. And that is a love I have never properly experienced. Like there is a genuine commitment. I have had that one-on-one with different people over time, but as a group, with men, you don't really find that kind, where, a lot of them are Christian, a lot of them are married, trying to have children, very ambitious, so we share a lot of values, but there is real love there, and I feel like having a lot of money, I would not have been able to even purchase, half of the value I've gotten from there. So yeah.
Well, that's wonderful to hear that there are spaces for men to just connect and to build
Mm,
relationship, because
mm,
it's
mm.
it's lacking, and it's
It is
necessary for all
lacking.
of you guys to connect and bond as men.
Yeah.
So well
Yeah.
done. And
Yes.
lastly, to give or to receive?
That's a good one. I would say giving, because giving has not been my strongest suit, and it's so similar to what you shared about people not being born or being made. I had to learn to make myself a giver, and I have really enjoyed the transformation of that journey. And just how it feels, because it's changed a lot. It's changed my money philosophies. It's changed my attachment to material things. It also just generally makes me a better human. So giving, definitely.
Awesome. So how can people learn more about what you're doing? Workspaceglobal.com. And I also know
Mm.
you have another space, Open Space Global, where
Yes.
you have conversations.
Yes.
How can they get to know more?
Okay, so regarding Workspace, anyone can start by going to workspaceglobal.com. That's the idea of, just to make it simple for everyone to be able to access that. Remember, it is creative teams for startups on subscription. Prices are very affordable, starts from about $199 a month, and you're able to get endless requests for designs, for tasks, etc., etc. You can also very easily find me on basically any platform at Sydney Scott Sam, Sydney with a Y. I do respond to my messages at least within 24 hours. So if anybody messages me, I will definitely respond. And I'm very keen to connecting with people. I'm taking on my next cohort of coaching clients. So if you're a founder, if you're pivoting from your career to start a side business or to launch a new venture, I'm very happy to support you there. So you can connect me there, or you can go to our website at workspaceglobal.com to begin your journey with the value that we're creating with the world. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about this coaching angle that you're offering.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us.
Okay, so I mean the two key things that I think are crucial for success being successful, right? So there's your mindset and your skills, and then there is your brand in terms of what you can create. So I'm focusing on empowering the founders themselves, since they are basically the nucleus of the business. And a lot of people struggle to find clarity when they even find that they want to start a venture, but where do I begin? I care about the specific industry. What is a product? I have an idea. Sometimes you have an idea or you have a tech idea, but you don't have a product on offering yet. So there's a lot of haziness, regarding just starting. So there's a concept that I'm building, a framework that I'm building called 0 to 1, which is a framework that helps anyone at all in the world move from no idea to your first customer. And that's all the parts and all the things you have to figure out in the time to be able to that one customer. That's why I call it 0 to 1. If you're able to get one customer, you can get 10. If you're able to get 10, you can get 1,000. And that's just generally the way that I approach my coaching session. So they're called more clarity sessions. It's just unpacking the things you already know, but it's very focused to just being able to get you to that one milestone, which is 0 to 1. I do also support businesses that are much later in their business, in their life cycle, but that's really where I enjoy, most, supporting people to move from idea stage to their first customer. Yes.
I really like that phrase, 0 to 1.
But yeah.
And also just to build on that, like I just think upon the several moments or different moments in my life where you have an idea, but you don't know how to execute it. So it just stays at zero.
Yes, it stays at zero.
It
Yes,
stays at zero.
a lot of people stay at zero. Yeah.
And it's sad and unfortunate, because I believe that ideas are random ways that God is giving us
Exactly.
direction to the next season of our lives, or the way
Mm,
to navigate to the next level of your career. So
mm,
the
mm.
idea comes, you don't know how to execute it, and it's just like, whoop, it fleeting away. So yeah, so kudos to you from 0 to
Thank
1.
you so much. Thank you so much. So yeah, I'm really excited. Thanks so much for this platform. I really hope someone out there is inspired today. I am very aggressive about pulling more people into my portfolio so that I can support more people. So please do check out the work that we're doing at Workspace, and do reach out to me if you also need some clarity. There are a lot of things that I also do for no charge that is pro bono, for example, with open space. So there's just let's network, and I'm sure there's definitely a way that I can create value in your life. Thanks so much, Muthoni, for this platform. It's just been amazing spending time with you again today.
Thank you, Sydney. I always enjoy our conversations. Thank you once again. And to the dear listener or whoever is watching, just remember that you have the power to choose. And just to build on what Sydney is doing with his coaching, you have the power to take whatever you're doing from 0 to 1. I know at times we get confused, we get frustrated, but that idea that you have actually has life. And it can actually benefit so many more lives just if you know how to move from 0 to 1. So until the next episode, continue being brave.